Got that going, and we're going to start my other stream on Amazon once we get the go live. And I'll be able to be on for about the next hour and a half or so. And I'm finally getting around to looking at this thing. This is the Lenovo IdeaPad 1. And this is a super low-cost laptop. In fact, I think it's on sale today, as a matter of fact. And I'm waiting for the Amazon thing to come up. Hopefully it will come up. I'm having one of those days where nothing's working right. Everything's just not working correctly for me today. Or I just can't get started is my biggest problem. Today's my teaching day, so I have to go commute. And it's hard to get started on a big project because I have to leave midday. So therein lies the problem. So I'm having trouble getting my Amazon feed going here. So I'm going to maybe start and stop this and see if we can get that functional. Now I'm totally locked out. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, it's not giving me the option to go live here. I'm going to cycle it and see if that might fix it. And we'll get started. Yeah, so we're going to take this thing apart. And we're going to see what's inside of it. And then we're going to boot it up and do all sorts of stuff to it. But if I can't get this Amazon thing to work, this might be a very short stream. Yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit of time for them to see me. Very bizarre. So give me a second here, folks, to get this figured out. And then we will get going. So hopefully everybody's having a good day today. And this is like a super, super low-end laptop. So this thing is probably the least expensive device that Lenovo makes. And it's on Amazon on sale today. And that was what prompted me. It's like, I better get going on this thing before it becomes obsolete. But it's like $229. So very affordable. Very strange, though. I cannot seem to get this Amazon thing started, which is bugging me. Let's try this again. Preview. Yes, it's waiting for stream data. I wonder if anybody is live on Amazon right now. Let's take a look. Yeah, there's a bunch of people that are live. Maybe there's too many people that are live. I don't know. It could be that lunchtime rush. But I can't seem to get this stream started. But I will take some questions while we're waiting here. So let me get my chat room thing functional. And I might just come back to this later, which is unfortunate because this is what I was going to be working on until I had to go. But we'll see what happens here. All right. And let me grab my question thingy here. And I will answer some questions. So William Wilkinson is here. Robert Branch is here. Bubble Timer is here. Metro North Rail Fan 224 is here. Drewy says this looks like the IdeaPad 330. Yeah, this is probably the same machine, more or less. They recently got away from these like 3-digit product numbers and then became more branded. So this is the IdeaPad 1 now, is what they're calling this one. This has an N4020, which is a Gemini Lake processor. I am doing well, everybody. My buddy from Maine is here. The power is finally back on. Yeah, we've had some pretty good storms last night. And Metro North Rail Fan is correct, Gemini Lake. How's my day so far? My day's going okay. I'm having a hard time getting like enough blocks of time to get started. So I had to have the guys come and look at the radon. I'm going to have a video about radon, by the way. so I couldn't like get started right in the morning. And Tuesdays now are tough because this is the day that I teach. So I've got to leave here and go teach. And it's hard to get, I like to have like a nice big stretch of time to work on a project. And I've got one. We're going to do more on the radio thing, but I just don't have enough time today to do it. So that's what's bugging me. Whenever I've got like a project that's ready to go, it bugs me that I can't do it. So it's just a time management problem right now. Justin Roberts is here. We got a question here from Justin McCullough, who is wondering, the only question as I look for new PCs this year is how is the GNU Linux compatibility? We will find out. Generally on these, it's pretty good. And the reason it's pretty good is because these Gemini Lake machines like this one, the whole system is on the chip. So that's video. I don't believe audio, but it's usually video and everything else is like on the chip. So it's generally compatible. The one issue you run into, of course, is with the Wi-Fi and the audio because those are not on the chip. So we'll have to see what happens here. Stanko is here. Hello there. Andy G is here again. Andy G says, is that a netbook or a laptop? Well, back in the old days, they would call this a netbook, I suppose. This only has it's a 14-inch display, but it's only 720p, which is pretty lousy. So, gosh, why isn't my Amazon thing starting up here? So usually, the Amazon stuff just starts right up. And sometimes, every once in a while, it doesn't acknowledge receipt of my streaming data. And I don't get the button to go live, which is what I'm dealing with right now. So I'm going to like cycle this one more time. And if not, we'll come back and do this stream later. So if I can't make it work on Amazon, I generally don't do it. But I'll answer some questions while we're futzing around with this. Adam Louse is here. NVIDIA Tabi is here. Drewies has there we go. Now we can go live. Perfect. Okay. We are live on Amazon, so we can get this show on the road here. So, yes, so then your IdeaPad is likely of better quality than this one. So this one is like the bare minimum, the minimally viable PC. And it right now is $229. It has 4 gigabytes of RAM. I doubt any of this is upgradable, but I did want to pop in and see what was inside. So we'll take a look at it and see what we get here. And I'm a little concerned here because it looks like somebody is impersonating me on my Amazon feed. I'll have to write to them about that. So I'm going to pop into this thing and see what is upgradable. And I've got my magnetic mat here, and I've got my computer. And so we're going to first open this up, and then we'll start playing around with its horsepower, or whatever it has. I highly doubt it's upgradable, which is unfortunate, because if it is not upgradable, it is going to be hindered by single-channel memory. And as we've talked about, especially on these little Intel chips, that is a really important thing to have for general performance, but most importantly, graphical performance is impacted significantly in single mode versus dual channel mode. And there are $200 PCs out there that if they don't ship in dual channel mode, you can easily upgrade them with an extra stick of RAM to get them there. So I'm hoping that that is the case here, although I suspect it is not. But we shall see. It seems pretty easy to get into it, though. These screws come out pretty easy here. And it's got a bunch of them, more than some of our more expensive PCs do. That's what's fun about these cheap laptops is they often are upgradable. This one probably isn't, but they're often more upgradable and easier to get into than the more expensive ones. All right, and I've got a spot where I'm going to stick my little spudger in and see if we can open it up here and see what we get. Ed Horn says the Amazon feed appears to be frozen. Let me see. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here with the Amazon thing. Let's take a look. It seems to be working on mine now. So I think we're good there. All right. So I am going to pop into the computer here with a spudger. And that's going to allow us to get this thing opened up. And we'll see what we get here. And keep those questions coming, folks, because I like to answer questions. And if I miss it, just ask again, but just don't ask like 1,200 times. And I'll put also, for the YouTube viewers, I will put the specs in here. Specs N4020, 64 gigabytes of eMMC. I think it's an N4020. Let me double check that. It is, let's see. Yep, N4020, 4 gigs of RAM, and 64 gigabytes of storage. And if the RAM is not upgradable, you're going to be locked into this single channel world here. So we will see. Okay, it looks like the Amazon stream is now functional. I think what's probably happening is this is when everybody starts streaming. I generally start at 2 p.m., but I have to teach this afternoon, so I am starting earlier than usual. And it is I mean, this is the easiest thing to get into by far. All right, so here is the machine, and this will answer some questions for later too. Definitely not upgradable. And part of my reasoning for wanting to get into this thing at the moment, look at all the extra space in here. This is the whole computer right on this part here. But the RAM is not upgradable, nor is the storage. And what's interesting, and I'm going to do a little B-roll shot of this. What's interesting is that if you look here, there is a spot where you would put an NVMe or M2 drive in, but it is not, like, they don't have the connector soldered on. So you can't, it might even be capable of running that, but the M.2 has no place to plug it into. So you do have one over here for the Wi-Fi, but you do not have this soldered on. So if you wanted to, you could probably solder your own on there, but there's no connector. So there you go. No upgradability. I'm just going to do some B-roll here. I'm actually going to do 2 bits of B-roll. I'm going to zoom in on that thing there. And actually what's funny here, I'll pull up another comment that just came in. Let me just finish the B-roll. I'm going to point here just for my video later. But this is actually, there's an 11-inch version of this, so all of this could fit in the 11-inch. It's just, you want a bigger screen with the same resolution, you got it. That's how it works. And to Rich's comment here, about the internals fitting into a smartphone, there was a time when you could, I actually have one in the other end of the room here. There was a time where you could buy an Intel smartphone running with an older version of the chip that runs this machine. So they actually had that. They were running Android at the time. But you could, you know, if it had enough RAM, you could run Windows on the smartphone if you wanted to. And unfortunately, they never really did much with that. So I'm just going to get in a little tighter here, as tight as I can get. So my camera, I have lousy cameras. It doesn't focus when I get in too far. So I'm going to go out just a little bit here just to kind of give a better view of that. And we'll do a little bit more B-roll of that. Do that, start that again. And you can see here there's nothing soldered on. But the solder points are there. And I would be surprised if you couldn't solder your own connector on and make it work. I don't think there's any reason why it wouldn't work, but at that point, and after all that aggravation, you may as well just buy the next one up, because you're wasting a lot of time to make a $220 computer usable. But you know, basic transportation. The Wi-Fi is a Intel. You know, I'm going to take a picture of that, just because if we try to load Linux up on it later, if it doesn't work, we'll know. But I suspect, because it is an Intel device, get in there with my macro feature here. Love my iPhone camera. Oh, that's a nice crispy photo there. It's a 9560 NGW. Yeah, I wonder if I bought the old one. That might have been what I got here. I was just going through Amazon looking for like the newer inexpensive PCs. This one actually goes back to 2020, so I think maybe there is a 5030 out, because there are a bunch of those on the market, but I just don't think they're on Amazon at the moment. That's why I picked this one, was because of that. All right, so we're going to put it back together here. But I think I'm reviewing it at the right time, because I suspect with the price drop, this is $230 now, and I suspect with the price drop that they're getting ready for the new version of it. Okay, all right, we are back together, and we're just going to screw everything back in. I got one of these really helpful magnetic mats, and what's nice about this is that if you happen to bump the table, the screws don't go flying. So that's been a really nice addition to my workflow. And actually with this, you can put a sharp, you can, not with a Sharpie, but like a erasable marker, so you can make notes of where you got the screws from. What I typically do is just array them by the grid pattern here based on where I pulled them out. The screws on this one are all the same size, but there are laptops that have different screws for different parts of the laptop. So I always bring out that magnetic mat. iJama says, why did you open it up if it's not upgradable? Well, I didn't know it wasn't because I suspected that the RAM wasn't, but the maintenance manual indicated that there might be a way to upgrade the storage, but this version, as we just saw, has everything soldered down, so that answered that question. Because had I not opened it and verified that, I would have made the assumption based on the maintenance manual that this is upgradable on the storage end, which it wasn't. And one thing I am almost positive of is that it is single channel. I will check that, but I would be surprised if it wasn't. But we will check that with CPU-Z. But I was reading some of the specs online, and I believe it is in single channel configuration. Which is a shame, because you think if they were going through the process, I don't know how they, what's the price break on RAM chips. I suspect it's got a single 4 GB equivalent of a module, and perhaps it was more expensive to solder in two 2 GB modules, which is probably why they went the way they did on this one. Or maybe they didn't want to offer something that was too powerful and might eat into some of their other computers up the line, right? These little Intel chips, depending on what you're doing, they're not ARM chips, but they can often do some surprisingly powerful things, especially when it comes to video encoding. They support QuickSync, so this actually would make a halfway decent Plex server, even with its RAM configured the way it is. All right, so next step is we're going to boot it up again. Now, lucky for you, I already ran all the Windows updates on it, so we don't have to endure that again. And if you're looking for ports, here's what you got. You've got 2 USB 3 ports. I'm guessing these are the 5 gigabit ports. HDMI out. I suspect it is 1080p. It'll probably do 4K at 30, but not 60. I'll verify that. SD card slot, and just a headphone jack on the side. But you do get a webcam. No fingerprint reader, no backlight. This is the economy car. So Metro North Railfan, is yours an IdeaPad 1? Let me know if that is the case. Maybe they have a newer one out. What I tend to look for on Amazon occasionally is stuff that is like super inexpensive that is available there. Because Lenovo is really weird about where they offer things in the marketplace. So not everything is available in the same place. So some stuff is available exclusively at Amazon, other things are only sold through their website. Sometimes they have other retailers who do different things. It's a weird mix of stuff. Let me get I just want to reorient my taskbar here. So let's go to taskbar behaviors, and I like to have my taskbar on the left. The screen looks to you better than it looks to me. This is a TN display, so it is not great. All right, so now, I mean, as TN displays go, it isn't bad. And this display, by the way, let's pull up our thing here just to make sure. But this is a 1366 by 768 display. So although it's bigger than the 11-inch version of this, it is the same resolution. So you can't fit any more on the screen, even though it's bigger, if that makes sense. And Drewy seems to like his taskbar in the middle. So I am team left-oriented, partly because I'm an old fart and Windows 95 started the start button over here. But I will say, Windows 11 is growing on me. It's been kind of a good upgrade in some respects. I haven't upgraded all of my machines to it, so my gaming PC upstairs is running Windows 11. A lot of the machines that I'm getting in to review now run Windows 11. But this one is running, and this one's running Windows 11. But my production machine, because vMix hasn't rated it yet, is still running the current version. And what I'm going to do real quick is get my Steam account set up. I don't think I installed Steam on here yet. Now, Steam and gaming in general is going to be limited on this machine. And I also have to install Chrome for our benchmarking tests that we like to do. But there are games that run on this, especially older games, you know, from the past decade. Believe it or not, these little Intel chips can do, without a fan, there's no fan in this thing, can actually run old stuff pretty well. And I hate looking at this Steam Deck because I'm still waiting for the invitation to buy mine. I have not received it yet. Yeah, so Metro North Railfan has the higher end version of this. So his has the M2 and the faster processor. And that is probably about 30% faster than this one. And it does have a headphone jack on the side. My tech guy Tim is here. Hello there. We are looking at the low end today. We are on the low end of the price spectrum. What can you get for $229? Here you go. All right. Oh, we have I forgot we have S mode enabled. So we need to go and turn off S mode. So we're going to get that app and switch out of S mode. So when it's in S mode, you can only install things from the Windows Store. And now we wait, because it ain't all that powerful. Let's see what we get here. Working on it. And once that's done, we can pop in. CF asks a good question. I don't know because I haven't looked at the education version, but I do have the Surface Laptop Go, and this is not even close to competing with that. Because the Surface Laptop Go has like a regular i5 chip, a much better display. You know, if you were looking at this or that, I would go that, because the Surface Laptop Go is a nice computer. This isn't a bad computer for the price point, but if you could get a Surface Laptop Go for $229, go for it. All right, I think we've switched out. Let's take a look here and see if I can install Steam now. But, you know, navigating it feels okay. The trackpad I'm not crazy about. It's got like that springiness to it. The keyboard, though, feels nice. It's like a lower quality keyboard versus their more expensive computers, but the key size and distance feels the same. Ooh, Ryan got a bum one. So are they going to help? Are they going to take care of it for you, Ryan? Are they going to take it back? I have found their hardware. It's a shame because like I was really into the Valve Index. At least I was excited for it, and I was very disappointed with the Valve Index. And it seems like they put a lot of work into this stuff, and then they just kind of drop the ball when it's time to get everything going. eFud wants to know, can you use a mouse? Yes, you can use a mouse. Plug it into the USB and you can use a mouse. iJama wants to know, is the 4 gig running smooth in this machine? We'll find out. I don't think we're going to get much out of this one because of the fact that it's running single channel. But we are going to run the 3D Mark benchmark on it first. So let me go dial into that and see what we have done on prior ones. I can't remember if I ran TimeSpy on one of these. Yeah, so at the N5095 is where I've started running TimeSpy. I don't think TimeSpy is going to run on this at all, so we're going to probably stick to CloudGate. That's the one that I tend to run on these things. All right, now what's the hold up here? It's just like spinning its wheels. So here we go. All right, so let me log into my Steam account real quick. But the keyboard isn't bad. I like the keyboard. It reminds me a lot of the other Lenovo computers that I have reviewed over the years. And it's funny, they kind of figured out a keyboard that works and they haven't changed it. All right, so let me go over to my Steam account thing here and type in my 2-factor. All right, we're in. And now I'm going to hook up my external hard drive. So I've got this little guy. I forgot to add it to my list of things. This is actually a really helpful little hard drive. I got this years ago. I think PNY sent this to me to review. This one is 420 gigabytes. I'm not sure if they have a larger one now or not, but it's great for like Steam games. You just load them on here, and then I don't have to continually. Yeah, so this is the 480, and this is selling for $60. It's been around for a while. There's faster SSDs now, but for my purposes, it's been fine. So I like this one quite a bit. All right, so we're going to pop this in to one of the USB 3 ports. There's no USB-C on this one, so adjust your cables accordingly. And what I'm going to do, and we're not running like Red Dead Redemption 2 or even GTA 5 on this thing. It is not going to handle any of that. But I am going to adjust my Steam folder and add a new folder. And we're going to go over to the D drive, and I think I put it in Steam Games. Let's see if that's where it finds it. It did. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to go to 3D Mark, and we'll launch it. It's going to install all of its stuff. Daniel Cronin, thank you for the follow. And I like to run this stuff because it's often good just as a comparative. And I know already where this is going to land, which is not great, but it's important to be thorough, right? So we will do that. And David Bown is here, and I have not run the browser bench yet, so we'll do that after we do this one. And this is a 720p display, 1366 by 768. So not great, but it's cheap. And if you like cheap, so here, I'll update my specs here so you have that in there too. So 14-inch, 1366 by 768, low end. All right. Okay, so I'll replace that pinned message so we have an updated one. And I will run Linux. Yep, we'll get to that. I suspect it will work fine, but we'll see what happens. Who is the target market for this product? That's a good question. I I would say the target market for this is an education environment. I'm sure these are being offered to schools to some degree, especially schools that are in the Microsoft ecosystem. If you've got a kid at home who just needs a basic computer and you want something a little more functional than a Chromebook, this is the Windows version of the Chromebook, essentially. So I think that's where this falls in. I could see someone who is a very basic computer user who just needs a web browser and maybe a Microsoft Office or something. They want to run the native Office. It could work with that. So I think that's where they target this. I've been reviewing these low-end laptops for years, and back when I first started reviewing them, it was amazing what they could do. And it's still kind of amazing what they can do, because I think people think that they're completely non-functional. But if you actually another target use case, we'll boot up Linux on it in a minute. Another target use case would be someone looking to play around with Linux, because you could basically install a super low overhead version of Linux on one of these. I suspect it'll work. We'll test it with Ubuntu in a minute. And you've got yourself a little terminal that you can pop around with that can be customized to exactly what you want. Whoa, so RW got those 480 gigabyte PNYs for $10 a piece. I would have jumped at that deal. I got to start going to stores again to see what kind of deal there is. And Metro North Railfan also has a version of this with the AMD Athlon Silver. And Andy says, kids these days want to edit videos. They sure do. And that's what's amazing, is that you could buy, for that purpose, for the same money, or maybe a little bit more, you could get an iPad, right? Like my kids can edit video on their little iPads better than you can on one of these. It's amazing. Sheldon asks, how would you compare this to the notorious netbooks? I would say it's in the same vein as those, but the underlying processor that runs these machines is much better. So it certainly feels slower than your $800 PC, but it's not horrifically slow. Like the netbooks were really, like, you knew you were compromising. And in many cases, they made them so tiny that they were in a different category altogether. But if you stick within the bounds of what this is designed for, which is essentially running Word and Excel in a web browser, I think it does pretty well at that. And there's a few other areas, like I said, with Linux and with media consumption, that these actually do pretty well with, because you've got that Intel chip. It is not encouraging when the menu takes forever to load up here. All right, so yeah, so the answer, someone was wondering before, 3D Mark has confirmed that this is single channels, 1x by, and it's DDR2386. Does that even exist? So it's not, it's kind of the slower DDR4 RAM, if I'm not mistaken. It's probably DDR2400, right? I don't know why it says 2386, but there you go. Okay, so let's go over to benchmarks, and we're going to look at the unsupported tests, because CloudGate is off their supported list. And we'll run Wildlife also. We'll do that in CloudGate. But CloudGate is what we've been running on all of these machines over the years. So we're going to turn the demo off. I'm going to minimize this. And actually, yeah, we'll just go with it. And let's run it and see how it does. So don't expect much here. And this is an older benchmark, so it's going to look like it's running relatively smoothly, but that's because it's an older benchmark. Red Hornet wants to know, is there a Ethernet port? No, you got to plug in the USB dongle. And it's got to be a USB 3 dongle and not a, because there's no USB-C on this either. It does not have USB-C out, as Metro North says it is just HDMI. And I suspect that it is able to do 4K, but at 30 FPS, not 60. I'd have to verify which which version of HDMI it has installed on it. But typically these don't put on the higher end one. All right. So, I mean, it looks like it's running fine, right? And that's because this test is from, I think, like 10 years ago. So, and that's what you'll see when you run like a game like Half-Life on it. It runs fine because that's the era in which, you know, these things were working in initially. And so there's a new version of Gemini Lake. This is the older version of it. And remember, the price here is $229. So you're not, you know, you're not going to compare this to something you would spend even $400 on because it's not that expensive. But the fact that you're running Windows means that, you know, you can install anything. It's a matter of how well it will run after that installation is complete and after you take off Windows S mode. And yes, this would do well as a low-rent Plex server for sure. All right, here's the next part. And Red Hornet says this is basically a disposable computer. And I think that's a very good point. He made that comment on the Amazon chat, is that, you know, especially for like tech support, you know, if you just need something you know is going to be placed in a risky scenario, whether it's left in a car or carried around somewhere, you know, you install like, you know, just a terminal Linux on this thing and you've got the ability to run, you know, most of the terminal-based apps that you would typically run. All right, so let's go over to, if you go to Lon.TV/benchmarks, you can get the comparative. Actually, the score was not bad here. It's pretty much in line with what we've seen on a few other versions of this chip. It's actually right in line with that. But those were also single-channel machines, I believe. Let me look up and see. Yeah, so if you go to Lon.TV/benchmarks, you can see, as we go up the line here, how you'll do better with dual-channel memory. So this is the Lenovo IdeaPad 1. It's a Pentium. This is a Gemini Lake refresh N4020. This would compare to the Asus L210 that we looked at a little while back. And it's pretty close to that. I think that L210, I have to look up at my notes. I think that L210 was also running in single channel mode. Let me double check my notes on that. I keep my notes for every computer that I've looked at here. Yeah, so the L210 that we looked at back in, actually a year ago, May of 2021, that one has also 4 gigs of RAM in single channel mode. So it is pretty much right where we expected it to land. So performance-wise, it's not hindered any, but it would probably perform better if it had dual-channel memory. I don't think I have looked at a 4020 with dual-channel memory because we also looked at the HP Stream 11 recently. That one actually did really badly comparatively. So the HP Stream 11 came in at 1863. So this is much better than the HP Stream 11, which is pretty much the same computer. So I'm pleased with the performance. I mean, all things considered. We should run the browser bench test next. So let's go grab, we got to install Google Chrome for that. So let's do that. And we run Chrome because that's what we run on everything. I run Brave now for most of my computers, but we've been testing with Chrome forever. So that is why, boy, they really like load these ads on you to try to get you from not installing Chrome. All right, so let's download Chrome, and we'll install that real quick. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel bad. And then we'll do the Linux test after this. Red Hornet says, I would use this on construction sites to look at PDF blueprints. Looking at blueprints on a tablet or smaller is not fun. Yeah, you get a nice big screen. The resolution, though, is only 1366 by 768, but that means that everything's pretty big, right? And that might be helpful. But yeah, this could take abuse, and if it breaks on a job site, you know, no big whoop. Just get another one. I always hate this notion of something being disposable per se, but you know, I think there's some value to, if you don't need a powerful computer, it's probably more wasteful to have a powerful computer somewhere where it could get broken than it would be with a lower end one where it's not as catastrophic if it does. All right, I'm just adding some notes here to my document that I'm putting together for the review. And let me see what, yeah, I'll take a look at maybe one of these older ones that we've looked at here. I'm just looking for a comparative. Maybe the Acer Spin one will be a good one. I'm not even sure what year that was from. Here's a 2018 model, perfect. The Lenovo Flex 6 from 2018. I've looked at so many computers, I don't even remember what I look at anymore. That's how bad it is. So I have to go back to my notes all the time. That's why I keep notes. Every computer that I review, I put a Google Doc together, so I've got it on hand. Okay. Let me go and expand this. And let's go over to browserbench.org. And we'll go to the speedometer test. And we'll hit start, see how we do. And this is another great comparative to run. And what this does is it's executing a bunch of JavaScript to see how it can execute web stuff. And I can tell you it's already feeling a little sluggish here. And I'm not sure why. So this one might be one that we have to rerun. It might be doing something in the background that is bogging it down a bit. This usually goes like super fast. And it usually goes a lot faster than what I'm seeing on this one here. Travis likes the notion of repurposing old tech. Yeah, I like to also. If I can find some use for something, it will be reused. And yeah, you could even do Chrome Flex on it now. But yeah, you're right. It could be good for, if you wanted to turn it into a Chromebook, you can now with Chromebook Flex. And CF bought my Galaxy Book. Yeah, so that one costs a little bit more than this one. But you're right, the battery life is better, and I think the performance is a little better on that one. Especially it's, you know, on the graphics side, it does a little better. And the power cord is a wall wart, so I'll show it to you after it's done with the test here. It is a basic, as basic as you get. And, oh, that's a good point. Let me make sure McAfee is not installed. It did ask me to install it, and I said don't. So I don't think it's running on it right now, but I'll double check. We'll wait for the thing to finish up here. I suspect the score on this is going to be lower than I expected or would anticipate. So let's wait and see what comes back. And we'll let that run its course here. Like I said, this, like if you run this on a new like i7, it's just done in a flash. Like I could show you on my Mac. It's just like it's like a lightning storm and it's done. But this is a good indicator because I've been running this for so long that we have so much data built up that you can compare. You know, the benchmarks I think on their own don't matter much, but it is fun when you compare different computers together. Got a nice big super chat here, a generous one from Joe. Thank you very much. And the RAM is soldered onto the motherboard on this one, unfortunately. So you will not be able to make it dual channel, even if you wanted to, because it is soldered down there. But I appreciate your super chat. And I'm sorry for the bad news on the RAM. So this actually, after this ran, is right where the other ones are. So there you go. We had a Lenovo IdeaPad 3 Chromebook that came in at this score as well. So this is right in line with the other 4020s. So we've had 4 machines. One of them was a Chromebook, 2 were Windows, and they all are coming in at around the same score, although the HP Stream 11 is also running at a lower score than this one. So that HP Stream just didn't do very well. And the HP Streams usually were pretty good machines over the years, so that kind of surprised me. All right, I don't have too much time here, so let's go and boot up Linux real quick. We'll see if we can get Ubuntu to boot up. And I think there's a new version of Ubuntu coming out soon, but I suspect this will be fine with the one that I have. So we'll plug in our external drive here. Red Hornet loves the old school speedometer graphic. It looks almost exactly like a speedometer on the Chevys in the 60s. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool graphic there. Okay. Let's pop that out. Actually, I'll leave this plugged in and I can just plug it in here. So I like to just do a live boot. So what I'm looking for here from a consumer perspective, people ask me, why Ubuntu and not this or that? The reason I've been doing Ubuntu is that it's probably the most consumer-friendly Linux out there. And it works as a live boot, so I don't have to go through all this reformatting. And because you can see, like, you know, we'll probably put 2, 3, 4 hours into the evaluative part of this review, and then, you know, we shoot the review, and then we've got to reset everything and pack it back up. So if I had to like repartition drives and reverse everything back out, you know, we'd probably spend an extra 2 hours on the other end of the review. And I'm not sure which key gets us into the BIOS here, so we'll just keep hitting all of them and see one of them will. Yep, missed the boat again. And 22.04 is coming out very soon. So yeah, that's what I was waiting on. That might fix some of the compatibility issues we had with our last review. So I think it might be F10. And I was hitting the function key initially, so let's try F10 next. And there's also a version with the Athlon chip. Yeah, you know, some of the prior Athlons were not very well performing in my experience, so it's good to see they're making improvements there. Is this going to do it? Nope. All right, maybe it's F2. Let's try again. Well, let's keep pushing all the keys until one of them works. So F2 is our next key to try. And Jay says Ubuntu is also the most common and best supported distro. Yeah, it feels, you know, it's amazing how I could see myself using it, right? Like it doesn't feel like, okay, I can compromise and run Ubuntu or Linux or whatever. Like it feels like a very professional, complete operating system. Not to say that the other ones aren't, but I think it doesn't have the barrier to entry that some of the other ones might. There we go. All right, so let's pull through. And we'll just go and usually there's like a way to override the boot settings, but not this time. So we're going to move the generic boot device up to the top here. And that will get us off the USB drive. So let's see what happens after we do that. Yeah, this is the problem. There needs to be a standard key. I want a key that you can push. Every time will get you into that menu. But no, and even within a manufacturer, like not every Lenovo has the same key press for the BIOS. But it does give you a sense of how big this company is, because they make more computers than anybody, I think, as far as different models are concerned. I can't even imagine the capacity. And then you think about all the people that have to just even design this cheap machine, how many there are, right? All right, we're almost there. Okay, good sign. But Mo says on Lenovo I can hit F12, so maybe I'll try that next time. So I constantly forget. So, all right, so we're going to try Ubuntu, and I like to do the live CD. We had a big debate on the channel about this, whether to install or do the live thing, and we all came to the conclusion that if you do the live boot, it's going to detect the hardware the same as it would if it loads directly. And again, I'm looking at this from a consumer perspective. So I think if the consumer wanted to try Linux, if it's not detected automatically insofar as the hardware is concerned, then they're not going to venture into the world of recompiling kernels and installing drivers and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I left things. All right, so the audio works, the Wi-Fi works, and of course the screen works here. So this looks to be an acceptable, we'll find out for sure, but I think this will be an acceptable Linux experience because everything works. The things that you want to have working are working. The Wi-Fi is working, so it's on the internet. We can load up Firefox. I'm going to record some B-roll on this in a minute for the review. And I'm excited about this too, Metro North, because this is going to leapfrog them back over to, oh, Grayson said his chat got grayed out. I'm not sure what happened there. I don't see it. Let me go to look at my all live chat here. Post it again, see what happened. I did not moderate you down, so I'm not sure what happened there. But I think AMD was ahead of Intel, and then when Intel came out with the 11th generation chips, they got behind again. So I think we'll see. Yeah, so if my Steam Deck ever comes in, we'll get a good sense of what those graphics are up to. All right, so I'm going to boot up LibreOffice here just to get a few examples going. I wonder if there's like a cool template I can load up on this. I just installed this on my Mac also. I do have a Microsoft account now. I'm using OneDrive a lot. And, oh, there's templates. Let's see what they got. Nothing really fancy, though, it looks like. Yeah, it's just like some basic stuff. You know, I think if you liked old school Microsoft Office, LibreOffice is for you. And I like old school Microsoft Office because what I like about this is that you've got everything in the right spot, right? It's not confusing. There's no ribbons to pull down. It looks exactly like it's looked like for the last 100 years. Okay, so we've got that going. Again, not a lot of screen real estate here, but we have, let me put the spreadsheet in there too. So let's go, drop the spreadsheet in there. Yeah, so they have their own version of Excel and LibreOffice, and it's on every platform. And it's great. Like, it runs great. It feels like Office 97. Like, that's not a knock on it. It's by intent, I think, that they did it that way. But yeah, decent Linux experience here. All right, so we'll boot up my website here, my YouTube channel. We can go meta and watch watch the live thing as it happens live. Be kind of cool. So you can watch my video here. Oh, great. Hang on a second. Let's get out of that. Yeah, the speakers, by the way, are not going to blow you away on this thing. Yeah, we'll pull up my live stream. There we go. So, the speakers, by the way, are not going to blow you away on this thing. A little bit of a delay on my thing there, but you know. We'll pull up my live stream. There we go. So, yeah, it seems to work. We can watch it picture in picture. Yeah. I think it's pretty cool. Seems to work fine. So good stuff. Yeah, so if you wanted to install Linux on it, you could do that. And that, I think that raises a bit of the value proposition here, especially if you wanted to go to a less demanding distribution, right? Works fine. All right, so we're going to go back to Windows World here, get a few more pieces of B-roll shot. So I think we'll do some Game Pass. HCP HCS wants to know, can it do internet? Of course, it's got Wi-Fi. So you can definitely do internet on this. And if that's your intent, you know, it'll do well at that, I think. You know what we should try to run on this? Remember that thing we looked at yesterday on the wrap-up? We could try that on it. Let's try. I'm curious how that might work. Let me do that. System7.app is what we're going to run here. Travis wants to know, what is my mouse of choice? I like the Logitech mice, partly because I've been using them forever. But I generally, because I'm a Mac user most of the time, I use the Magic Trackpad. Although I do have a SteelSeries mouse upstairs that I like quite a bit. HCP says his mom just does face. Yeah, I think for like watching the news and Facebook and stuff, it's fine for that. But you might also want to look at a Chromebook if that's all she does, because that might even do things a little better, just in the sense that if that's all she does, there's no reason to have a computer that does more, because it just means more phone calls. Trent Curtis is here. Hey, everybody, congratulate Trent. I believe you are this. Yes. Congratulate Trent, because Trent just punched his ticket. That means he got I think that's what they call it. He just got his ham radio license. He's a technician class, which I am studying for right now. So congratulations, Trent. And I'm looking forward to sending you some FT8 data over the air at some point in the future. And HCP HCS says he knows about the phone calls. Yeah, your mom will be calling you with tech support questions. With a Chromebook, you never hear from them, at least about the computer. So my mother will call me like, why? You never call me back. Or, my computer's broke. Like, I'd like to get the calls of like, how you doing versus the computer's broken again. So you'll have more valuable time with mom with the phone calls versus the tech support calls. All right, so let's see. I'm just curious here if System7.app how this will run on here. So yesterday we did a video about browser-based emulation, where you can go to a website like this one and boot up another computer. So this is an example of a Mac Quadra running in emulation in a web browser. And actually, it doesn't feel half bad. Yeah, it feels a little bit slower. So this is like a 1995 computer that it's basically running. But it feels faster than my PowerBook did at the time. So that's something. And I believe they had, here it is, Another World. Let's just see how that loads up. Yeah, if you haven't seen this, System7.app and Mac OS 8.app, probably one of the best performing emulators in a web browser I've ever seen. Like, you saw what we just did here. We just went to the website on this low-end computer, and it just pops up. And it's legit. It's not like simulating something. It's actually running a Mac Quadra emulation. And so this computer would have cost you like 10 grand back in the day. Now you can boot it up in a web browser and get the same experience. It doesn't go on the internet or anything like that, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, so you go to system7.app, and you will love that, HCP, because it will bring you to exactly what you just saw here. Yeah, it works pretty good. Yeah, so, and what's cool is that they have all of the software already preloaded on it. So if there was some game that you played, it's likely in here. Looks like mostly games from the period, but you can also go to the Macintosh repository and download other stuff. So here's an old game called Bolo. Let's see, looks like, there it is. This one I think is a black and white game. This was like a multiplayer one. I used to play this on my Apple II, I think. Yeah, I forgot how to play this, but you get the idea. A lot of those cool Mac games that were weird and funky like this, you can get on here. The performance is pretty good, but it's amazing, right? You just hit it with your web browser and you're in. Like there's nothing to download or configure. You know, I spent like a weekend trying to get Sheep Shaver working once. I'm faster at it now, but it was fun to just boot that up. But yeah, I just did a video yesterday on this and a few of the other ones out there. There's another one called V86. So we'll try that one here. But this gives you an idea of its performance just on the web browsing side. I mean, I think it's more than adequate. So for example, I could hit, here we'll do Windows 98. Let's try that. Yeah, Windows 98. This is like legitimate Windows 98. The audio's jumping around a little bit, so it's not quite as yeah, it's not quite as so this runs a lot better on my M1 Mac. But I don't know if this is as well optimized because when you look at this, the era of System 7 is around the era of Windows 98. So this one is not as optimized, I would say, as the other one. That's what makes that other one so amazing to me. But like Windows 3.1 should run fine on here. Let's try that one real quick. HCP just found Lemmings on there. See what happens when you tune into my live stream? You find something cool. And Grayson just placed an order for a Mac Mini. I think you'll like that. Yeah, Justin says this is about mom calling. Why did you change the Google Doodle? All right, I'm just missing some questions here. Oh yes, Matt, I'm going to have a whole video on my software-defined radio thing this weekend, as a matter of fact. I am almost ready to go with it. I just have to shoot it. I've done all the B-roll. This is like one of those things that takes longer for me to make because it's not something I can just put on the table here. There's different times of day I have to operate. So we're going to look at all the different digital things I've decoded with it. And we had a live stream the other day where we were picking up satellites from outer space, which was pretty cool too. So we'll be covering all of that in an upcoming video. All right, I got another 20 minutes or so. So there you go. So we'll get out of this. And what I'm going to do next is get my controller paired up. So I want to record some B-roll of Xbox Cloud Gaming on here. And I think that's one of the best things that's come out of Microsoft in a while, because even if you have one of these low-end computers, they have made it super easy now to just grab a game controller and connect to them. Let's see here, I just got to go to Bluetooth. I may have to log in with my other account too, which is going to take some time here, but we'll get that figured out. Add a device. Bluetooth, we're going to pair up my Xbox controller here. And that'll give me a little nudge here. We're good. All right, so now we're going to go to the Xbox app. And this would do GeForce Now and everything else also, but I just like the Game Pass thing as an example. I think that's probably the most accessible thing. Red Hornet says, it is sad that we could not keep an IBM computer manufacturing. Yeah, they don't make any of these things in the US anymore. Yeah, Apple and IBM and Compaq, everybody used to make stuff here. Apple was making the Mac Pro for a while in Texas, but they jumped off of that. Yes, and if you click the Apple logo in that emulator, it'll go full screen. Exactly. And Travis enjoyed the wrap-up. Yeah, I thought people would like that because, we've covered emulation before, and, just like we were talking about with, let's see what we got. Your device comes with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Oh, it's like a free thing, but I am paying for this on my other account, so I'm going to switch to that. Back to this notion of something being easy to do. Emulation from a consumer standpoint is not easy because of all the different components you have to grab, and there's a lot of people out there looking to install malware on your computer instead of what you are intending to install. So the fact that you can go on archive.org or on these two websites we covered in the wrap-up this week, it's more accessible to just go to a website where everything's already configured for you. And so far, it looks like Apple and company have been kind of hands-off on this, which is good. Because I think there's something to be said about, I don't think there's any commercial loss here by having OS 7.5 or even 8. They didn't go to 9, I think, for a reason. I'm sure there's still probably somebody making money off of OS 9 still, but I don't think there's much lost in that experiential thing. Okay, so we're going to pop into my account here, and we'll jump into Game Pass real quick and see how that all runs. So the way Game Pass works is they have basically put Xbox Series X, I believe, consoles into the cloud. And if you are subscribed to the Game Pass Ultimate subscription, not only can you download those games to your Xbox and your PC, but you can now spin them up and stream them. And, okay, so let's go continue here. And so I have to install an additional component. And once we get that going, we should be able to stream these games. So you can stream them to your phone, you can actually stream them to the console. And that's been really useful because, if my girls and I jump through Game Pass just to see if there's any games that are of interest, and we will find a few here and there that are interesting, but then we got to wait. Even with my fast connection, it still takes a while to download this stuff. And so we can actually spin them up and stream them right away and decide whether or not we want to download it. And then because it syncs up all of your save game stuff, if you are streaming a game, the save game will drop you off right where you left off, which is awesome. All right, so a bunch of new games that were recently added, especially like a game like the Show 22. That's a huge download. And so you can spin it up and decide, do I want to play this? And if not, oh, Super Mega Baseball. I've heard good things about Super Mega Baseball. I'll have to play this one later. I love a good baseball game, but I generally show Forza Horizon 5 just because it's a very quick jump in and play kind of thing. Now remember, we are not playing this game locally on here. We are running it through the cloud. And this is coming in over my Wi-Fi. And one of the things that you have to be very mindful of with game streaming is that the quality of the connection is really critical here. Although I'm not seeing anything on the screen here just yet. What's going on? That's a weird thing. Let's see. I'm hearing it. I don't see it. I've never seen this happen before. Let's quit the game and try it again here. That was weird. I missed a chat message. Oh, Stellar savings from Xbox. Okay, so let's try this again. What if there's an update or something? I do have another Windows update. I thought I had installed all the Windows updates before we got started here, but apparently I was mistaken. So, Travis, yes, I believe Wreckfest is on Game Pass. I can boot that up. And I heard about this also. I think TSA needs to be briefed on their retro gaming consoles, right? I heard about that. But I guess it was like taken apart, and so it wasn't like as cut and dry as somebody just having the console assembled. It was like components of it. So they thought it might have been a concern there. Okay, there we go. Now remember, this is not running locally. This is running through the cloud. But it looks great. All right, so let's jump into my game here real quick, and we'll do a little B-roll capture. And we'll see how that looks. And then I got to jet, because I got to get ready for class here. Hey, Mark Dell is here. Hope you're doing good. All right, so let's jump into my car here. I always forget how to get out to the road. I think I hit the. You know, it's funny. You have to back out to get on the road. That's what always confuses me about this game. All right, so let's do a little recording here. Oops. Get my Corvette going. This is I'll tell you this is a beautiful game. I have no idea like what the purpose of this game is other than to like collect things. I think that's kind of what it is, right? You just collect stuff. And there's certainly a lot of potential destruction, but I don't see a lot of destruction in this game. But the graphical detail, the amount of work that has to go into a game like this is just remarkable. But it's streaming great. This is over my Wi-Fi. I'm not hooked up to Ethernet right now. This has Intel Wi-Fi like we saw earlier. But it is not Wi-Fi 6. It is AC Wi-Fi. And right now, I'm like the only guy in the house, so the only person in the house, let alone guy. So I've got kind of free reign of my Wi-Fi right now. And everything else that I'm streaming with is on Ethernet. So this access point up here is just, you know, basically just serving this computer right now, but it seems to be working fine. But again, this is Game Pass cloud gaming. But this is good. It's a good experience. And there's another use case. People were asking about use cases. You know, this is an area where if you're fighting over the television, and you have a kid that needs a cheap PC, you can get the kid the cheap PC. They can play their Xbox games over the cloud, provided you have a decent enough internet connection and you don't have a huge cap on your bandwidth. And you can get this stuff to work pretty well, as it does here. How do I get out of this game now? There we go. Oops. Let's go hit the button here. So let me just quit here. But yeah, it works pretty good. Pretty good. I would say that was a good experience. I enjoyed the streaming. All right. But yeah, that's what, from a gaming perspective, that's what I would suggest people do. Mark says it has some weird story missions. Or you could buy a Wii U. Yeah, buy the Wii U. And it is Taco Tuesday, although I'm not having tacos tonight, I don't think. Maybe I'll grab them on the way home. And yes, I am running 5 gigahertz for AC. So my Wi-Fi 6 access point does AC and AX. So it does all of that. All right, let's try a game or two here locally before we have to jet. But again, you're not going to get much running on here. I'm even wondering if I should even demo any of this gaming stuff, because I mean, usually I do like Half-Life 2, which is, you know, fine. You could, as we talked about before, you could do, yeah, we will do BioShock Infinite. I think that will run. Let's try that real quick and see. And what time is it? Okay, I got a little bit of time here. So let's resync the cloud here. Okay. So now this game we're going to run locally. And we'll see how this does. All right, so now, and again, this is an older game, so I expect it to probably work okay. But at this point, oops, I just want to make sure I had a good recording there. Okay, good. At this point, I would say that the streaming experience has gotten so much better that it's not advisable to install games, to be honest with you, on some of these things anymore. It's just, you know, they're just not designed for gaming, never have been. All right, let's just boot up here. It's just got to install a bunch of stuff to get this going. Yeah, and I think this is a valid point because they have moved beyond this chip, the N5000s and 6000s. I think there's a lot of 4020s out there because these came out like pre-pandemic, I think was when they manufactured them. So I would guess that the supply chain has a bunch of these processors sitting out and less of the more powerful ones. So I suspect that's part of the reason here. All right, let's see if we can get this to boot up. But you are correct. I would say if you have the choice, go with the 5000 one. So Mark Dell says, I have a pretty decent connection, but his lag is always so terrible. Yeah, you know, I bet you Mark is suspecting that it's the, I think it's a good point to raise here because I am in a good spot. Because I'm not far from New York City where likely there's a data center. Okay, so let this load up here. Keeps crashing, so it looks like looks like we're not getting that to work. It goes from like, yeah, you can play this game to, no, you're not playing it. All right, so let's do Half-Life 2. This I know will work. Let me just resync my cloud. All right. Let's do that. And Mark, in regards to my my connection, it's like owning a helicopter and questioning why anyone drives anywhere. Yeah. Why would you? When you have this helicopter, don't you all have a helicopter? Don't you all have a fiber connection? Okay, so we're going to just load a game here. I'm just going to just run through the usual screen that we do here. And I'll hit my record button. All right, here we go. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to, yeah, I'm going to use the game controller here. I forgot to turn on the, hang on, let's turn on the Steam overlay so I can get the frames per second here. So we are at, I believe, 720p. I will double check that. In game, we want to go to FPS counter, top left, high contrast. All right. And now, so we're at 21 FPS. Let me check the video. Yeah, we're at the native resolution. Okay. Okay, so we are at, yeah, about 30. And this is the result, by the way, of the single channel mode. So we would be doing better than this. We would be doing better than this on a dual channel computer with the same chipset because it can move data back and forth through the graphics system faster. So 3D Half-Life 2. So not great. Somebody was asking about Minecraft earlier, if you have the Optifine installed. Yeah, it would do okay with that. We found that to be the case with the prior generation ones. So you can probably get away with that. And they are using a TN panel here, yes. So this is bottom of the barrel kind of PC, but that's it. Retro Game Puppy wants to know, why are we reviewing? Because that's what I do here. I review a lot of underpowered machines. And actually, I would argue that this is not necessarily underpowered. It is delivering the power in which its processor can deliver with its, with its configuration. I will say that, here we'll do Shovel Knight real quick. I will concede the point that it could be running faster had they made a dual channel version of this, but that would have cost more. But I like to dive into this segment of the market from an academic standpoint, primarily because I think there's value in a machine like this for certain use cases. And people are out shopping for this stuff. They see a computer that's $229 and they wonder, is it worth it? And not a lot of people review these things. So I see it as like a good opportunity for my channel. I love the music in this game. I see it as an opportunity for my channel to offer some value to the public, because not a lot of people like to look at this cheap stuff. And I always like to see, like, what can you do with this? What is its capabilities, right? All right, so let's go over to... You know what's funny? This does not seem to be running very well on here. Let me just check the... I would expect this normally to run at around 60 FPS. So let me just see what the video is set to. Yeah, we're at... Yeah, I think, again, this is just the result of that. Yeah, this is not... I hate to say this, but, like, it's true. Shovel Knight is unplayable on this machine. And this is the result of the memory issue here. Let me start this level again. Oh, I get it. If you spell Asus without the A, it's sus, yeah. If you're playing, whatchamacallit, oh, now it's running better. That was weird. Okay, now it's at 60. I don't know what was happening before. Oh, it's going down again. Yeah, it's not able to, it's running above, yeah, see, there it goes again, down to 35. I think that's the RAM issue. I think we will probably see also that when I run the stress test later, I can't run it now, and plus you don't want to watch that. It's like watching paint dry. When I run the stress test, you'll see that it will be thermal throttling because there's no fan on this. So we might have been seeing throttling there as to why that was running at that level. But now I'm at around 55 frames per second. So it's, it's playable, but you saw that it dips down occasionally. And you could probably run like the Dolphin emulator on here and stuff, but again, it won't be spectacular. All right, good. I would say if you wanted to get into some of that higher end emulation, you're going to want to have a dual channel machine. It's not getting too hot though. To Ed Horn's question there, it's pretty, it's warm, but it's not hot. But yeah, that's if it had dual channel memory, I think you would see better performance there. So yeah, yeah. I mean, it's better than the Stream 11 that we looked at from a performance standpoint. So I think that's good. All right, but I must depart now, and the reason is that I have to get ready for my class. So teachers actually have homework to do too. So I need to get prepared for teaching this afternoon. And I got like 2 phone calls now that I got to return that came in during the stream, so I got to take care of that before I go. Mark Dell says his 3DS can play Shovel Knight. Yep, it sure can. And I would agree with you. I think you're right. For sure. All right. Well, I am going to take off here. I apologize if I missed any of your questions, but you can leave a comment down in the comment section on the YouTube video, and I will try to get to those a little bit later. And we'll have a review of this coming up pretty soon. I've got a good chunk of the work done already, but we still have a few more things to poke around with on here, so I'm going to go and do that, and I will be streaming again very shortly. I've got some more stuff coming in. I got a radon checker, which I had to buy by necessity, so I will be sharing that with you. I think it comes in tomorrow, so that might be something we stream about as well. So stay tuned, and I'm glad to see you, Mark Dell. It's been, I don't think I've caught you in a while. I started a little bit earlier today too, so, but it's great hanging with you as always, and all of you who tuned in. And I want to thank our super chatter. Let me make sure I get your, on my screen here, it doesn't show it anymore for some reason. Where did it go? There it is. So I want to thank Joe Troiani for your super chat, and I will catch you all on the next stream. So set your notifications. If you are not already, go and follow me on Amazon, because sometimes if I'm doing something that is like, I don't want to spoil the YouTube audience, I do it on Amazon only. So if you follow me on Amazon, you'll get notified every time I do a stream. And it's a great place to hang out as well. All right, I will catch you all on the next one. Stay tuned for that. See ya.